All right, let's get to the other big story of the day that everyone is talking about. Michigan football head coach Jim Harbaugh just spoke to the media at about noon today, talking about he has 2 more games that he is suspended for because of, from the Big Ten. So let's head on out now to Ann Arbor. Rod Maloney was at the press conference, and he is covering this for us today. So, Rod, the coach didn't really talk very much about the situation, saying he is into due process and he's just going to wait for this hearing that's going to happen on Friday.
Right. He did say that he would probably talk about it on Friday. They didn't have a whole lot to say about it today. I'm suspicious that perhaps he won't be saying much on Friday either, but they're going to have a hearing. It's a temporary restraining order hearing on Friday. But what the coach did say was that essentially he's proud of his team, and he's also very happy with the way they comported themselves yesterday. And he talked about being America's team. He said, if you watched the game on Saturday, it was something unique and different, and something that he is quite proud of. And I believe we have the soundbite. Let's hear from the coach on that.
And watching it from where I was watching, I was like, how could you not see this? These players. I mean, Blake Corum with the nose bloodied, and the emotion of the team, the perseverance, and then just the stalwartness of these guys. I mean, watching, I would have to say, everybody. It's got to be America's team. It's got to be America's team. America loves a team that beats the odds, beats the adversity, overcomes what the naysayers and, critics, so-called experts think. That's my favorite kind of team. And, watching it from that view on the television, it was finally people get to see what I see every day.
Now, Jim Harbaugh, essentially, that's the closest he came to saying anything about the Big Ten. Tony Petitti, who was their commissioner, who was the one that actually went ahead and made it so that he couldn't be on the sidelines. I asked him if he, about his frustration level, and he refused to answer the question. Talked more about the fact that he has a virus and he worked out this morning. But that's if you've been to a Jim Harbaugh news conference, you can fully expect for those kinds of things to happen, because he really just kind of talks about what he wants to talk about, and he won't address the main questions. But it's a situation where he goes to court on Friday, and what they're going to try and do is to get a temporary restraining order. I just looked up the law. I had the law looked up for me. And it's a 14-day process. So if it's Friday to the next following Friday to get whatever they can get in terms of relief, that should cover him if the judge were to rule that he could be on the sideline or not. But it's a tough case, and the Big Ten is going to come in and essentially say they have all the evidence they need, and that the Big Ten commissioner has full discretion to do precisely what he did. So it's going to be fascinating, and we'll certainly be there front row center on Friday when they go ahead and try and decide whether the coach is going to be allowed back on the field for the Maryland game and perhaps even the Ohio State game.
Yeah, Rod, watching a Jim Harbaugh press conference is always interesting, because you're never really quite sure where it's going to go. And in terms of him answering those questions, I've seen a fair amount of T-shirts and sweatshirts over the weekend that say Michigan versus everybody, kind of going to that feel that he's talking, that this is, Michigan's America's team right about now. What's the mood you're finding on campus? And I can only assume that's the next kind of trailing part of your story that you're going to be getting on this afternoon.
Well, we talked to Jim Harbaugh, and we came straight to the stadium. So I haven't had a chance to talk to the students. But one of the things that Jim Harbaugh did say was that he feels that he's never seen the university as a whole, whether it's alumni, football team, students on campus here, more galvanized than they are now in this whole situation. He believes they're aggrieved. The Big Ten says they're not. NCAA says they're not. So the question becomes, okay, what's the crime? What's the penalty? And of course, we also have to remember that the NCAA investigation has not been completed, and that the Big Ten is depending on the NCAA's evidence in this case. And so, for all intents and purposes, it's kind of a big mess, and U of M seems to be coalescing around its coach.
All right. Sounds good, Rod. We know you got to get back to work, and we'll see you for later editions of Local 4 News at 5 and 6 o'clock tonight.